Zoom recording. All right. Well, that technology glitch just went pretty quickly. So thanks for everyone for being on this call, this training. Hope to bring you guys all some great value. Before I get started, I need to message my team because my office is about a block away from my house. And when it wasn't really working with my house, I decided to just run home really quick. Let me pull this up. St. Cloud team, where are you? There we go. Link. So this is a second in my series of trainings that I'm doing for company-wide, for the region, for the alpha regions, and I'm opening this up for everyone in the company because over the past couple of years, folks have really asked me, hey, what's Gary doing? What's his secret? So I'm gonna go through my pitch and go through some of those techniques that I use. So to begin with, this morning I really came with a epiphany. I can never say that word. Because at first I had titled this training something about like my judo techniques, and I was kind of saying it jokingly. But then I realized, no, it's not judo techniques. It's actually Jedi techniques that I'm actually trying to convey to everyone. So, I have this Obi-Wan Kenobi doing the Jedi mind control tricks with people. I'm jokingly saying that, but the truth of it is I spent the last 15 years doing a lot of training with some of the best sales trainers on the planet. And so some of these techniques that I've been taught, I'm actually going to share with you guys. And some of them really are powerful techniques. NLP, for instance, is considered kind of like a dark art mind control trick with folks. And it's really not that, but there's a little bit of that. So let's this is supposed to be. So Tony Robbins is one of the folks that I've definitely admired, and he basically Tony Robbins, who he is really he teaches us how to communicate better and how to communicate our message to others, and it's really not about us more than what that other person is hearing from us. So when I go into a pitch, and so last time I really did cover the overall pitch. So now we're going to be breaking it down into the various steps. So the very first step, if you remember from last week, is the very first step. We knock on the door, and I spent about 3 to 5 minutes just getting to know the customer. And that's really what we're going to be addressing today. This is really the pinnacle of where you in this pitch, in showing this person, everything from this point is really when you start to create leverage in this appointment, is when you're getting to know the customer. But I want to show it to you be effectively and elegantly. So the first thing is just like today. I mean, today is a great example where I'm coming in, my technology wasn't working at my office over there. I had to come over here. I'm kind of looking like this guy at the right-hand side, kind of flustered, right? I don't have control over the situation today, right? This is not what you want to convey or portray in going in there. Instead, you want to be 100% prepared with how you're looking, how you're dressing, Also, you want to be prepared with your pre-design, looking through the pre-design and proposal ahead of time. As much controlling as many of the variables ahead of time will make you'll have much better handle of that situation, and that better handle of that appointment while you're actually inside the appointment. Sometimes that, stuff happens, like today, you got to shake it off quickly. I was just telling the group about some of my judo techniques to get rid of that crap in our head. Is, you guys can't see my hands, I don't think, but I'm actually taking my hands, I'm going back and forth around my ears and like getting the crap out of our head. We've got to leave that stuff behind. Whatever happened 5 minutes ago, 10 minutes ago, hour ago, whether it be with your boss, whether it be on the road with traffic, whether it be with your family life, you've got to leave it at the door. You can't bring it in, because ultimately you want to be 100% present with that customer when you're sitting with them. Ultimately, guys, you guys got to know that this is a huge transaction we're talking. For most solar systems, it's going to be, $30,000, $50,000, $70,000 that these people are purchasing from you. And within 20 minutes, they're going to be signing documents. You've got to have the confidence that people need to know, like, and trust you. And I think that I underline the word trust, because they've got to have confidence in you that they can turn this money over to you and that you're going to be taking care of them. So how we do that is, number one, we show up looking professional. We want to know everything that we can about solar. So really learn the skills of solar and why your belief level has to be a 10 out of 10 in doing solar. But then more and more, as you go into this journey of sales, as you go into the journey about being a salesperson in Blue Raven, really, I ultimately would encourage you to take additional trainings on how to become a better salesperson. It will go a long ways. It's a great investment. Like I mentioned, I've probably spent, tens of thousands of dollars over the years in sales trainings, in mentorships, in hiring coaches. And I would say that money is the best investment that I could have made. If we talk about the recession today and like where to put your money, I was just hearing somebody talking about, NFTs and Bitcoin and all that, and gold even being at the bottom. The best place where you can actually have the best leverage is actually taking that money, cultivating it back into yourself, cultivating it back into the trainings, cultivating back into the self-development, into building yourself. It's the best investment you'll ever make. Key things to note ahead of time: you only have about 3 minutes to make the best impression possible. That's all you've got. Like it or not, in this world, first impressions are everything. If you're going to be looking like the guy up here, all disheveled, they're going to know that. They're going to feel that. This is a pinnacle of you really stating a sense of dominance in going into that presentation of either buying people's crap or selling them on something. Selling or being sold. You're gonna right away hear everyone's excuses right from the get-go of why they don't want to go solar. If I would listen to what customers say in that time, I would be a very, very poor salesperson, like literally poor. Like I would not be making money. I do not, I hear them. I don't believe what they're saying. Instead, I'm constantly selling. Okay, so in the first 3 minutes, you're basically asking them, I'm doing the same questions over and over and over again. And it's these 3 questions. How long have you been in the home for? Are you from the area? What do you do for a living? Those are the 3 questions I'm asking them. In actuality, I'm asking those questions. What I'm really trying to figure out are these things. How much does the customer make? Are they savers or spenders? What's their personality type? Am I in competition with other companies? I'm not outright asking them these questions. I'm asking them these questions, but I'm wanting to know these answers. And from their answers given up here, I'm gonna be like, this is a picture from Scooby-Doo, if you guys don't know. I'm gonna be like Scooby-Doo. I'm gonna be revealing, what's underlying that. I want to know the answer to these questions. How much does the customer make? Are they savers or spending? What's their personality type? Because I'm gearing my whole presentation, how I'm interacting with them based upon these. I want to know how easy of a sale this is going to be. Is this going to be a lay down sale? And is this a family that's buying a lot of things on credit? Do they have Amazon boxes sitting out at their door? Do they have lots of money when I'm going into their house? But they have like side-by-sides, and they have four-wheelers, and they have skis, and they have all this stuff, but it is all like in disarray. What that tells me is this is a family that's buying a lot of things on credit. Or is this a family that, I can tell that everything has its place, they're neat, they're tidy. These guys are actually, they have a really better handle on their money situation. I'm gonna have to actually, with the second one, really be more in tune to them taking a look at solar, because solar is an asset. Solar is something that's gonna be really be creating value to their home. Whereas the first person, the person that's in debt, the person that buys a lot on credit, they're gonna be an easy sale. And they're really going to be a person that I'm going to be really talking more towards the tax credit. But I surmise all though that like meta conversation based upon what I'm seeing and how they're answering the questions up here. How long have they been in the area? Are they a person that's changing jobs many times? Or have they been in their same home for 20 years? Do they basically have their home paid for? What do they do for the living? Again, are they a person that's, moving around from job to job to job to job? That person is probably going to be more attracted to 18 months free and a big tax credit that's going to be in their pocket that they're going to end up spending for toys for their family. And of course, in other states like Colorado, I'm trying to figure out if I'm, by asking them, have they ever looked at solar before? I'm really asking, am I in competition with other companies? Because if I know I'm in competition with the other companies, especially in Colorado, I might have to show them a couple different proposals. I might have to show them cash proposals eventually. But 3 minutes, that's all it takes for me in getting to know the person. Later on, those are the questions that I asked right off the bat. Later on, I'm asking them, I get more in depth into their lives. And usually it's during the welcome call, because I know I'm going to have time to touch base with them at that welcome call. And I always use the form, family, occupation, motivation, recreation. And when I say I use the form, if I forget, how to talk to somebody or what to say or what questions to ask, just ask them about their family. Ask them more questions about their job. What do they like to do? What's really motivating them? So if you've ever been in sales in other companies, if you've been in sales in the industry for any amount of time, one of the frameworks of selling is to really know the different types of personalities out there. And there's a lot of different ways to put it. There's the DISC. If anyone's ever heard of DISC, it stands for dominance, influence, conscientiousness, steadiness. Other programs that use colors. I like to use a mixture of colors and animals, but basically it's getting down to the same idea that we're breaking down people into 4 major groups. Okay, note this. Even though we're breaking down people into 4 major groups, doesn't mean that these lines are like solid. People are a mixture of one or the other, but they can be dominant in one area comparatively to another area. I find these tools useful mostly for this reason, not even for the customer, but for myself, to get to know myself and how I'm presenting myself to others in a way that people hear, know, like, and understand. And so I can be on the same wavelength and same level as them. So let's go through some of these different personalities. So the first one is the red personality. These are the lions. These are the people that they're really motivated by competition. They're motivated by money. They want to get from point A to point B very, very quickly. They don't have time for BS. And a lot of times if you talk to them on the door, they may be very, very impatient with you. Doesn't necessarily mean, they might be a little bit annoyed with you. It doesn't necessarily mean that they aren't a good sell. They actually really are a pretty quick sell. And you can know that you can get a decision, yes or no, very quickly from these people. Myself, when I started, and I would say it's a hat that I wear. When I started wearing this hat of being a lion, this is why I've been the #1 rep, in this company for the last 3 years, is I put on that lion hat. I'm in that role, I'm very focused on my goals and what I have to do to attain those goals. I'm not afraid, when I'm wearing that lion hat, I'm not very emotional, honestly. I get to the point. 15% of the population are lions. They're the leaders out there. Most of the people out there, and I'll share this with you, my personal story, is for most of my life, I was one of these. I was one of the blues. My degree was in psychology. I had 3 older sisters. I was very emotional as in high school and college. Blues are there for community. They're there for relationships. They're there to belong to a bigger group. They literally wear people's emotions on their bodies. So these are like the teachers and the massage therapists out there. They'll be out there, if you notice like a massage therapist, they'll be heavier set. A lot of teachers that are heavier set, they're really taking on the world's burdens onto their bodies, quite literally. These people make up about 60% of the population. So we really need to communicate in a way that these people, #1, feel safe in the situation, because many of these folks have trust issues. They might say something that needs to feel right in their gut. They are very malleable, honestly, though. Us as lions, if we can wear that lion hat, we can really guide them very easily where we want them to go, which when I'm sitting down with somebody, where I want them to go is to sign papers. So, understand that about yourself and what you're portraying out there. You have to, my technique is really, I want to establish a level of trust with the blues. But once I have that level of trust established with them, I'm guiding them exactly where I want them to go. And I think that stance in an appointment makes a huge difference. Like, I'm always the captain of the ship. I'm always saying things like, this is what we're going to do next. First, we're going to get you pre-approved today. Then they're going to come out for the site inspection. You still have 3 days after that to make your final decision. If you decide for whatever reason not to move forward, there's no penalty, there's no cancellation. I affirm these guys to make sure that they understand that, hey, that I'm not, trying to take advantage of them. I'm not like a wolf that's going to go down on their neck or anything like that. They need to feel that through and through and through and through. If I waver at all during an appointment and they can feel it in their gut at all, they are going to cancel afterwards. So just realize you have to be totally transparent. You have to be honest. You have to, do that in all things in life. But this, with the blues, this is one of the reasons. Also use the language, because they want to belong. The language I use when I'm sitting with somebody is I'll use something like, this is why everyone's going solar. Most of my customers end up keeping the tax credit. So I'm giving them the sense that this is what other people are doing. Using language like that is very important with the blues, because they really want to be a part of something else. The next one is the yellow, the fun lovers. These guys are there to have fun. I might, in an appointment, not even talk about solar for 15, 20 minutes. They may offer me a beer. I don't drink, so I wouldn't take that, but we just sit there and talk about this or that, the game, whatnot. And in the end, I'll like say, well, are you, are you ready to go? Or they'll say something like, well, where do I sign? So you might go totally off topic, bring it back in, they're ready to sign. It's not a big deal. They'll get the paper signed, and then they'll go back to, now are you ready to have that beer? Again, note this personality type. Finally, it's these guys, the white, the engineering brain. And for me, these guys are the ones that I dread the most, because these guys want to know all the facts, all the details, all the specifics. They want to know about the microinverters. Are they IQ 8++? Are they the newest types of panels? In the end, the engineering brain, the white brains, I'll not spend a lot of time with them, because I could literally spend 3 hours talking to them and they would still need to think about it. Instead, I deal with the whites as, if I know truly this is a white personality, I'll give them my presentation, and then I'll end up sending them the information afterwards. And I might have to do follow-ups with them for the next 3 months, sometimes for the next year. In the meantime, even though these guys think that they're being smart, I'll tell you, they're actually losing a lot, because they're sitting there having to analyze all the details, analyze everything. In the meantime, interest rates have gone up. In the meantime, inflation has gone up. So the cost of solar has now cost them about $15,000 than they did this spring. So I can actually be like, whatever, it's your decision-making process. Here's the information. Here's the reality of what I've seen over the last year. But again, it's all on you. And I'll just, leave them with that information. Luckily, less than 10% of the people fall in this camp. So it's not going to, even if you don't put lots of energy towards them, you don't have to hang on trying to suffer through long appointments because of that. So I got a game. Elizabeth, why don't you unmute, because you're the only face that I see right now. So can you unmute yourself? I'm going to put you on the spot. Is that okay?
I guess so.
Because Elizabeth, I think you know some of these guys who are up on here on this board, right?
I think I do.
You think you do? So going through the different personality types that we just went through, can you tell me what you think, who you think Jimmy Carter may be? What kind of animal? Would he be an owl? Would he be a koala? Would he be a lion? Would he be a monkey?
I would say blues. Is that the koala?
That's the koala. Yep. I would say that too. Yeah. Jimmy Carter was definitely a blue. He was definitely not just because he's a Democrat, but just how he's interacted with the world. His work with Habitat for Humanity, he's there to help others. He's been a really outstanding individual. All of these guys that are up on the board are a mixture, of course. Jimmy Carter, because anyone that's a president, I would say also has a bit of red to them because they have to be leaders, right? So he's kind of predominantly blue with some red. So how about the guy in the middle, George Bush? Like him, hate him, whatnot. Where do you think? What colors do you think he is?
He's not really red. He's kind of more yellowish, but he has some blue in him. Obviously the red, but I would lean more yellows, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. George Bush, if you know his history, he was renowned for going out and partying, drinking, having fun. That's what he was there for, And of course, like we just said, I mean, he's a red, so he definitely, he's a president, so he definitely has some red in him too. How about, and then I'll just go through the other ones. George Bush Sr., I would say he's in the category of a white personality and a red personality. So he's very there about the facts, the figures, information, all of that. And again, because he was a leadership, definitely in the red personality. Bill Clinton is very similar to George Bush, right? He had a little too much fun, right? and then also a red. Trump, man.
That's a straight red.
Yeah, definitely red. There's a lot of red. There's a lot of yellow in Trump as well, I would say, because he just, he likes, I think he likes to have fun. I don't know. But definitely a lot of red in Trump. Finally, what we're gonna just barely scratch the surface of talking about is NLP, neuro-linguistic programming. And this NLP has been taught by folks like Tony Robbins out there. And again, we're talking about communicating with one another. And I'm just gonna we could spend months going through this program, but the NLP basics are really not only are people, we can group people in different categories as far as their personalities, but people are also broken down into different ways that they learn information. And what the basics of NLP is, we can break them down into either being kinesthetic, which means feeling, sight, sound, scent. So using all the senses. So a couple different ways that you can utilize this. And again, this is not a master's program of NLP, but you can use it in your language. So if you're hearing from a customer words that have an auditory, like mimic that, mirror that back. That rings a bell. It sounds good to me. What I'm hearing from you is you're going to resonate on the same frequency as that person because they are an auditory learner. Same thing with visual. I see what you're saying. You know, if they're imagine, I use the word imagine a lot. Visualize. If they're saying, I don't know, that ideal just isn't clear to me. You know, you have a visual learner. I'm easy about that. Then I'll actually shift it of using the type of language like imagine. Also with that, this is why this should have actually been in one of the first screens. This is why when you actually are dressing for an appointment, utilize that leverage in your clothing. So a lot of times people are visual, they're impacted by the visual. They're also impacted by colors, right? So utilize both of those. So if you want to go in there and you feel like I want to be more dominant in that situation, in this appointment, wear the colors red or black. You'll be more of a lion. You'll look like more of a lion to that person. Whereas if you want to actually get more, maybe you're more red and you actually want to be more compassionate. You're like, oh, I need to tone things down in the future. You learn that from your past, right? So you're like, well, one of the ways that you can easily do that is wear blue in going into the appointment. You're gonna be, just by wearing the color blue, they're gonna be on that, they're gonna reflect that back to you. And of course, I mean, you know, yellows just were crazy color floral. Kinesthetic. You got to be careful when you're using the language of kinesthetic. So because if you use like feely, touchy language with people and they aren't feely, touchy, you're gonna turn them off. They're gonna be like, oh, stay away. But notice that in their own language. If they're using language like feeling, you know, you have a person that is more of a kinesthetic person. And so you're going to be using like, do you grasp the concept? You know, what we're going to touch on today. Do you have a solid understanding? It's more of, how do you feel about that? So our language, again, using our language, using our words in ways that really resonates with that individual. And then of course, there's very few people that are prominently olfactory or gustatory, but you know, there is that part of NLP. How I use NLP, and I use it pretty unconsciously these days. When I'm in with in the appointment, I'm really telling lots of stories. I'm using allegories. I'm saying things like, this is like this. You know, I mean, the basic one, you know, your bill is like, you know, paying rent. You know, using those stories over and using different types of stories and using different language in those stories to give it texture, to give it feeling, so that they can see what I'm trying to say, so that everyone can just, you know, open up their ears and hear, you know, the language that I'm using. By doing that, I feel like, you know, you can connect a lot of them on so many different levels. The other aspect of NLP is just mirroring them. So what ultimately I feel like this is really going back to the very first slide. All of this in combination is really helping you learn the skills of becoming a Jedi Knight, right? Because ultimately what you're doing is you're going to be on the same vibrations as them. You're trying to get on that same vibrations so that then you can change those vibrations to turn them into, you know, to direct the conversation the way you want. So one of the best examples that I can give is, have you ever seen somebody just cross their arms in an appointment right off the get-go? And you're like, you know, that person is giving you the verbal cues, like they're not having any of it, right? Well, one of the techniques that you can use is cross your arms with them, do the same body posture, get on the same frequency of them, the same tone as them, use the same inflection as that person, and slowly over the course of, you know, sitting with them in those, you know, during the proposal, slowly uncross your arms and watch them uncross their arms. It's pretty amazing. You can get a person to open up by doing this. I think a great example that anyone that has been a parent, has been a mom, you know, has had a child, you know, like holding a kid and rocking them back and forth, you're getting the same frequency of them, and you're really trying to calm them in that way. And it's the studies that have been done, really the same heartbeat will go, you know, you'll have the same heartbeat as a child if you get in the same frequency. The same thing with our customers is, if we can get in that same frequency, we'll gel with them. So if somebody's lean forward with them. And then take them to the next step. And you're going to be developing that trust to do the next steps, which is, you know, hey, here's what we're going to do next. You know, I'm going to give you an overview of solar. I'm going to answer any questions that you have right off the bat. I'm going to give you an overview of solar, and then we'll get into the numbers. How does that sound? Does that sound good? That's it, guys. I'll take a couple questions, and then I'll get you guys out of here. Any questions? No? No? No questions this time. So I hope this this session has brought you guys value. As always, you know, talk to your managers. I think what I'd like to see with all this is we're doing these training sessions with our region on a weekly basis from now on. But I'd like to see more voices from you know, from these Zoom trainings. I think it would be very powerful if, you know, we can get people from reps from all walks and all regions to really share their ideas, share their insights on what's working with them. So it's not just myself or a few voices. Nolan, did you have something? Did you come off mute? No. Okay.
Yeah, can you just send it to me? We had you mimicked up on the TV and you sounded like the devil half the time, like really slow. So I think we
Oh
were,
no. Oh
yeah,
no.
so then we pulled you off the TV and it worked fine, but I think we missed a little bit of it. So if you just send it to me,
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
All right.
I got it recorded. So
All right, sweet.
yeah.
Thanks, Gary.
All right. Thanks guys for joining me. We will see you on the flip side. Thanks.
Thanks, Gary.
Yeah, thank you.